Now it's time to start assembling. The first thing I notice here is I've still got a visible plane on my locking shaft, and that's going to bother me. So to delete that or remove it, I'm double clicking on that part, and if I hover onto the plane till it's white, I can right click and go find in browser, and I can see that it's my YZ plane. The visibility is on, so I'll right click and turn that off. Then I can return. Much happier. Now what we're going to do is start assembling these components. So the locking collar is going to align with the axis of the locking shaft, and the easiest way to do that is with a constraint using the axis of the locking shaft and the axis of the locking collar, and we'll apply. I'll just close that so you can see. So those parts are now aligned, and the next thing we need to do is get those parts aligned over the axis of the main shaft. Now the difficulty is the main shaft doesn't have an axis. If we try to constrain with an axis, we'll see that there isn't one. So we're going to create a false axis. So what we're going to do is double click on the main shaft, and I'm going to right click and create a new sketch on that face. Then I'm going to project the geometry of that face and right click and create a center point circle. From the center, snap to one of the interior edges and finish the sketch. Then I'm going to return back into my assembly and then right click, constrain the axis of my locking shaft, and if I hover on that circle, that will give me an axis for that circle, and I can apply that, and now we have those items constrained along the same axis. Now that sketch is going to bother me, so I'll turn its visibility off, double click on the shaft, zoom in, right click on the sketch, find in browser, and turn the visibility off, right click, visibility. Then I can return back to my assembly. Next thing we want to do is create a copy of this pivot plate. So I simply right click the pivot plate, copy, right click in space, paste. Now I have two pivot plates. I'm going to constrain the two together, so right click, constrain, and I'm going to do it by the axis of the holes. So select that axis, and apply. And you can see, I'll just close that constraint box, it's locked the two together. They will rotate against each other, so I'm going to right click, constrain, and use the flush tool against two of the flush edges, and apply. Close that again. So now they're locked. Now these two pivot plates fit around the end of this 15mm shaft, so I'm actually going to constrain them at that distance. So to constrain using a mate from this surface to this surface, you can see it sandwiched them together and given me an option for an offset value, which will be 15, and apply. So now they're locked together. The next step is to bring in the other components. So we're going to place, and we want the blade. And I'm just going to place that in space there, press escape to break that off, and place. Now the handle, if we use the IPT, which is just the sketch, that won't work. We actually want the assembly. So we'll open that one and place that in space and press escape. Now again, these sketches don't look pretty, so we're going to get rid of those. So I'm going to double click on the blade. I'm going to right click on the sketch and find in the browser, and right click and turn its visibility off. And this sketch on the back, same process, right click, find in browser, right click to turn the visibility off, and we can return that part. On our handle, I'm going to double click on that and then right click on the sketch, that in the browser. And we're going to right click and turn its visibility off. Just click OK on that. And we can return.